4 reasons you should focus on a niche. Hey, I'm Scott Beckford. Today I'm going to talk about the 4 reasons you should consider focusing on a niche. I'm going to talk about the 3 categories of niches, and they're not actually, most people skip 1 or 2 of these. And I'm also going to share with you the number 1 niche I told my son who's getting into the mortgage business that I would personally focus on if I was starting over. Thanks for listening. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering 10-minute tactical podcast I produce every week, where I share with you some useful things you can apply to your business. I want to give a shout out to our title sponsor, Finmo. Finmo is a Canadian mortgage application, document collection, submission platform designed specifically for Canadian borrowers. It's very easy for borrowers to use, which is really important. And it's got some cool features like Smart Docs. It knows what docs your client needs based on how they fill out the app. It's got smart submission notes, pulls key data from the app. And it's just a pretty looking whole interface. If you've never seen it, go check it out at lendesk.com/Finmo. Ask them and they'll give you a complete tour demo for free. All right, so niche. I actually looked this up before I did this show. Is it niche or is it niche? Apparently niche has been around longer, and in the 70s, niche became acceptable. I'm going to go with niche because then you can say things like, I'm going to niche slap you, which I think is just hilarious. And I think I've heard that first from Alex Hormozy, so shout out to Alex on that. So I want to talk about, should you go after niche or not? So let me just paint a picture for you of 2 different contractors. You've got a house, you've got something you want done on it, and you've got 2 people to pick from. You've got the first guy, you look at his website and it says, hey, my name is Dave. I'm your handyman. I do electrical, I do plumbing, I do drywall, I do foundations, I do roofing, I do landscaping. And then you have another guy, and let's say you want some electrical work done. And you have another guy who says, hey, I'm Bob. I'm an electrician. Who are you going to hire? Let's be honest. You're not going to hire Dave because Dave is not going to be good at all of those things. He may be good at a few of those things. If he's really exceptional, maybe 2 or 3, but he is not going to be great at it. Drywalling, taping is another example. So anybody can hang drywall. That's easy. Even I'm not that handy and I can hang drywall. Mudding and taping it so it actually doesn't look like a dog's breakfast is a whole other scenario. And so would you hire somebody who is a handyman who does taping once a month or once every other month, or somebody who does it every single day? You know for a fact you'd hire somebody who does it every day because you'd actually get a better job. They'd be faster. And in the end, they'll be cheaper. It's the same thing with mortgage brokers. You go to their website and it says, hey, I specialize in first-time buyers, commercial, residential, private mortgages, all this other crap. And you're like, you don't specialize in anything. You just say, I will do anything. Ask me. You're like the handyman Dave who's saying, hey, I'll do anything. And that's okay, but you're not actually going to attract anybody. And if you're going to go talk to referral sources and you go to meet a real estate agent or a referral partner and you say, hey, I specialize, they're going to be like, bullshit. I don't believe you. It's not possible for you to actually be specialized in all those things. And so I would argue that it is actually way more profitable that if you focus on a niche. And I actually don't think you can be too niche. I think you can be too broad. It will hurt you. But if you get super niche, you can still make a great business. Because let's be honest, most people listening to this, if you did 100 mortgages a year, for most people, not everybody, some of you guys are like, Scott, 100 mortgages does nothing. Wow. But for most of you, if you did 100 mortgages a year, you'd be like, I got a pretty good gig. This is a great life, right? And so to get 100 mortgages a year, you can focus on a very narrow niche and still do really, really well. So let me talk about this 4 things you need to think about. First, then the first reason you want to think about a niche is that, and don't worry, at the end, I'm going to give you some examples as well as my favorite niche that I would personally target today in this market, given the complexity and the competition that I see. All right. So a niche makes it really easy to stand out and be memorable. So marketing for a particular type of client that you're looking for is way easier than if you're trying to attract every type of client. It makes your marketing easier. It makes the way your website looks easier. It makes your communication easier. Everything is around that specific type of client. So when we first launched BRX, our target client was actually rookie mortgage brokers, which most brokerages didn't want. They told us, we don't want those people because most of them are not going to make it. And they're a huge pain in the butt, massive liability. And we built a whole system around it. And we attracted lots of great rookie mortgage brokers. The second year in business, once we realized those brokers didn't want to leave, they were like, hey, because our plan initially was, hey, come join us. We'll teach you how to get business. We'll show you how to find your files. And then when you're done, graduate, you go and hang your license somewhere else. Sayonara, God bless you. And turns out they're like, hey, we don't want to leave. And I was like, shoot, I didn't think about that. And so then we ended up moving towards a broker who does 10 to 20 million a year, not getting a ton of support, overpaying for their splits. They are a perfect, the broker doing 150 million a year, probably not my person. The person who's got a whole bunch of brokers and they're taking a split from them, doing us other crap, not my person. The person doing 10 to 20 mil a year who wants to get to 40 mil and wants to do it working less hours, they are a perfect client for us. And we know that's who we want to serve. And that's the type of people we've been tracking. So a niche makes it much easier to stand out and be memorable. The second thing is a niche allows you to develop really deep, specific knowledge. And so back to my example of the handyman doesn't have deep, specific knowledge about problem shooting electrical stuff. Like my grandfather. So my grandfather was an amazing man, used to build houses built hundreds of houses back in his day. And he did everything. He did the foundations, he did the framing, he did the roofing, he did everything. Now, in his day, to his credit, he was an amazing person. In his day, it was not as complex as it is today. The way they built houses, the finishings today are pretty unreal. The way they do tiles and all this other stuff. So the finishings the complexity has gone up. And as the complexity goes up, that's where getting specialized actually is better, right? And so you get very deep, specific knowledge. There's a guy that I know, Tyler McTaggart, who is probably, he knows more. He knows so much about mortgages that when I talk to him, I actually feel dumb. And I've been doing this for 18 years. And the stuff he tells me, I'm like, huh? You can do that? And because he focuses on these high net worth clients that have complex situations and he knows all the private bankers and he knows all the levers to pull. And I'm like, dude, it's like we're playing two different games. It's like I'm playing this little game of beach volleyball and he's playing NFL football. And I'm like, wow, I could not compete at all in his niche because he is such deep, specific knowledge. So when you develop a niche, you can get deep, specific knowledge. So the first thing is easier to stand out. The second, you get deep, specific knowledge. The third reason is that you can create a very specialized client experience. You can create a client experience that is custom made for your ideal client. Think about shopping at Mercedes versus shopping at Hyundai. Nothing against Hyundais. I bought my daughter one. It's a great little car, but the experience is different. They have a different clientele and there's a mortgage broker, I know, Scott Westlake, and his whole market is luxury. He's the luxury mortgage broker guy. And so he goes after luxury properties, luxury, the type of clients they have their car clubs and all this other stuff. And he loves all that stuff and he kills it at that. And the last time I talked to him was a few years ago, he was doing 100 million a year and it was almost all this exclusive types of clients. Now, here's the thing about Scott, though. He's not stupid, as he knew some of these clients were well qualified and they're going to end up going into the bank, to private banking, and you are not going to win that file. Scott doesn't even care. He's like, hey, don't worry, I'll connect you with a private banker. You look great. But he also knows there's a chunk of those, especially the people that are self-employed or they have more complex, that aren't going to fit in a bank, and he gets all those. So he has bank specialists, so people who are private bankers who refer him clients because they can't do everything. They're like, shoot, we can't do this. Scott's the guy. So he's like the luxury guy, but he's the luxury guy with the alternative financing, and he crushes it, right? He's got, and he creates a fantastic customer experience because he's so focused. So as I said, he makes you more memorable. You can have deep, specific knowledge. You can create an amazing client experience. And finally, just because you niche doesn't mean you won't attract other types of clients. You may be thinking, oh, but Scott, what's going to happen? If I focus on the niche, I'm not going to get any other client. No, you will. I promise you will. Because other people will still reach out to you. They'll say, hey, can you help me with this? So for example, Ron Butler, his niche would be deeply discounted. Deeply discounted mortgages that they do for clients. And so it's all prime, deep discounted mortgages with low margin, high volume business. However, he still does B files. Somebody comes to him and they're like, hey, Ron, can I get this, crazy low rate? They work the file. No, sorry, you don't fit. However, we have an option for you. And he will put that file with a lender that's actually a B lender. So even though all of his the vast majority of his communication and marketing is around the prime client, he is still attracting non-prime clients and funding those mortgages because he is not stupid. So you will still attract other types of clients. So four things. I'll talk about the three types of niches here in a sec. See, I did it wrong. Niche. I got a niche slap myself. A niche makes it easier to stand out and be memorable. A niche allows you to have deep, specific knowledge that's very hard to compete with. A niche allows you to create highly specialized client experience. And a niche does not mean you won't attract other client types. You will, for sure. Okay, so let me talk about the three types there's different categories of niches, and then I'll give you some examples. And I'm going to tell you the one that my son asked me just the other day, he's like, Dad, what would you do if you were me right now? So the first is niche referral sources. So your referral source can be your niche. It doesn't have to be the client. So that could be things like financial advisors. You could be like, I'm going to focus on financial advisors like Jim Chalukas did. He's a big broker based out of Newmarket, I think. Jim, if you're hearing this, don't knock me if I don't remember where you're from. He did $100 million in his first 12 months because he had partnered with financial planning companies and financial planners, and he got tons of business. It could be accountants, it could be builders. Obviously, I left out realtors in there because that's pretty obvious. And in this market, there are also realtors are you should still be part of your business for sure, but you'll still get realtors. Jim still gets realtor business. So you can get the referrals. Your niche could be around. I'm going to target specific referral sources. I met another mortgage broker who was an accountant. She became a mortgage broker, and 4 years later, she was doing $40 million a year, and almost all of her business was coming from accountants. Why? Because she understood them. She's like, hey, I'm an accountant like you. I'm not doing this anymore. Let's work together. And most of her business came from those accountants. You can be builders. So first is referral source. The second is client type. So you could the first is the referral source. The second is the client type. So it could be business for self, people who are, it could be first time buyers. It could be investors. It could be alternative type clients who need some other type of, but basically you could target a client type that you go, this is my niche. I'm going to go after these clients and I'm going to make all my marketing communication around those. And the third thing you can do is product. So it could be you make a niche around a product. I know construction, for instance, is a unique mortgage product. Frankly, I hate them, and I didn't do them, and I'd always refer them out. Even today, I would not do them. I just don't like them. They take too long. They're a pain in the butt. But there's commercials, another niche product, private. I did an interview with a guy a few months ago. If you go back and listen, and his niche product was home equity line of credits that went behind the existing mortgage, and it was fully underwritten by AI. I'm like, dude, that's amazing. And because he didn't have to break the first mortgage where they had these low rates, he did these like crazy. And so that became a niche product that you have. Hey, I've got this fantastic product and I'm going to market that product. So we talked about the 4 different types of reasons why a niche is great. We talked about the 3 categories broadly with a bunch of examples. So what is the category that I told my son that I would go after if I was him at 17 years old? I'm going into 18. So quick side story. So my son is decided, he just graduated. He's like, Dad, I think I want to get in the mortgage business. I'm like, freaking awesome. This is great. And so I started training him, and he comes into my office and we've got tons of training at our like hundreds of videos, and he's going through all the training that we have. And then he writes down notes and I review it with him. I might actually share some of the stuff we talk about. It's so much fun. So anyways, he's going through all this training. He's looking at it. He's writing down questions. We talk about it. And he said, Dad, so if you were me, what would you do today? He's like, and he's like, he's literally first day, and I kid you not, he's like, should I go after commercial? I'm like, dude, you can, but it shouldn't be your first mortgage, should not be commercial mortgages, because those are a bit more complex. Like, sure, we can get you there. And I know the people we can do the foundation. I can put you in touch with people that will make you into a master at commercial, but let's, walk before you run. So he wants to go to the NHL, and he's first day on skates. And so I said to him, if I were you in this market, I would go after business for self clients. And the reason I would go after business for self clients, first off, I love being self-employed. Love it. I could talk to anybody I talked to somebody recently who has a dog walking business that spits out cash like you would not even believe. And I was just jonesing. I'm like, this is so freaking awesome. I love talking to people who are self-employed. Doesn't matter what the business is. So for me, I would have no problem at all being like, I am your guy. If you're self-employed, that's all I want to do for mortgages. And then there's a certain products that fit really well for those types of clients, and everything else I really wouldn't care about. I would market the heck out of that. And that's what I said to him. I said, look, if it was me today, because those types of clients are solution focused. Think about this for a second. They are not going to be as sensitive on rate, because the person who can get the mortgage from the bank that 10 banks are going to give them the mortgage, they're going to grind you down. And you're going to be, oh my gosh, Scott, they said they're going to give me, 0.01% less. And they said they're going to cut my grass and walk my dog. But can you beat that offer? I'm like, no, I can't beat that offer. And they're going to give me cash back. I'm like, just take the freaking deal, man. And so I personally would not that I say wouldn't do prime deals, but I would focus heavily on all my marketing, all my communication, everything would be around business for self. So that's one of the things that I personally believe is a fantastic market. The second thing about people who are business for self that I like is that because they often don't want to pay as much, they want to pay as least tax possible. They write their income down. They know that, hey, I'm paying the government less, but that means that I'm going to have to pay more over here. And that's fine, because it's a business decision and they're solutions focused. And the last thing I'd say about people who are business for self is that they know other people that are self-employed. They're the perfect market, and you ask anybody who's self-employed, they know a dozen other people who are the same. And so it is naturally the strongest market and they refer more because they're business owners. They get it. The person who's got the job as a teacher, they don't understand that they don't really understand what it's like to be on commission, have to go find your own business because they got a 9 to 5. So personally, if it was me, and what I'm going to coach my son on is business for self, I'm going to make him into a business for self ninja. And not yet. He's still young. He's got lots to learn, but that's the plan, is get him into that. And then if he wants to graduate to commercial at some point, cool. I can't help him with that because that's never been my thing. So I hope you find that useful. If you are interested in learning about business for self, I've actually, my COO from our company, Denise, has created a business for self course. And it is freaking fantastic. I can tell you the people that have gone through, like, wow, I did not know you could do this with business for self. This is for my Canadian listeners. If you're American, sorry, but if you have a business for self course for Americans, reach out. Maybe I can help. But if you click on this podcast, there'll be a link there that you can actually join that course. We've opened up the doors for it briefly for the next few weeks, and you can get access to this course and learn how to do it. You don't have to pick another niche, but if you want that one, I can fast track you on it. Hope you found that useful. Thank you for listening. And as I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that hasn't been solved. Your problem's like, who's got the answer? I hope you find these useful. I'm Scott Peckford, and I will see you on the next show.